Welcome to the Welsh Yogi Podcast.
Okay, welcome to the Welsh Yogi Podcast, third instalment.
Episode 3, what's happening?
Episode 3, where we're carrying on reading through the Sri Upanishad, one of the wisdom literatures of India. And this podcast is meant to give uplifting sound vibration, not the bad news that is always filled and you get on your social media streams and online through the television. These sound vibrations, and they bring us down. But this wisdom literature from India uplifts us.
That's what I like the sound of that. So like last week we were talking about what were we talking about? Do you remember, Gopher? I think we started this paragraph that was talking about Mayavadi philosophy.
It touched on Mayavadi briefly, but we mainly talked about like different types of acquiring knowledge.
Oh, yeah.
Pratyaksha, Anuman, Shabda, hearing, or...
Yeah. So it's knowledge. What was the Pratyaksha was the first one, which is knowledge you get from your own senses.
Direct sense perception, yeah. Like, which is said to be not completely perfect, because if you look at the sun from our point of view, you might think, so a few inches wide, but if you hear from an authorized authority, then it's perfect, right?
Yeah, Shabda. Nice. So I think we're on this paragraph that there is a spiritual sky.
There's a spiritual sky. I'm just looking for it on my Kindle, actually. I just lost where we were. Okay, so continue the introduction.
Oh, invocation. We almost always do that.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I'm also lucky to have Charlie here with us as well in the studio audience.
Big up, Charlie.
Okay, there's a spiritual sky. There is another nature which is beyond manifestation and non-manifestation. But how will you know that there is a sky where the planets and inhabitants are eternal? All this knowledge is there, but how will you make experiments? It is not possible. Therefore, you have to take assistance of the Vedas. This is called Vedic knowledge. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we are accepting knowledge from the highest authority, Krishna. Krishna is accepted as the highest authority by all classes of men. I am speaking first of the two classes of transcendentalists. One class of transcendentalists is called impersonalistic Mayavadi. They are generally known as Vedantists, led by Shankaracharya. And there is another class of transcendentalists called Vaishnavas, like Ramanujacharya, Madhavacharya, Vishnu Swami. Both the Sankara Sampradaya and the Vaishnava Sampradaya have accepted Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead. Should you explain some of this, do you think, Ben?
Yeah, like even from the first sentence, there's another nature which is beyond manifestation and non-manifestation. Like, just to get your head around that, like, this world that we live in, the nature of this world that we live in is a world of manifestation and non-manifestation. So, like, you can see it in the seasons, like when summer's there, the leaves are manifest on the trees. Autumn comes, they fall. Winter, they're unmanifest again. And it's this whole world is built on that idea of things being there and then they're gone, and then they're there and then they're gone.
Created, maintained for some time, and then disappeared, destroyed.
Yeah, it's almost like the same as this body, like this body was born from the womb, and it's maintained for a little bit of time, but eventually there's a shelf life on the body, So like this world that we live in, that we exist in, is a world of
creation, maintenance, and destruction.
Yeah, it's like computer programming. I don't know if you've ever heard of about bits.
Oh yeah,
bits. It's like ones and zeros. Like you see the binary. So everything.
Is that bit like Sega Mega Drive was 32-bit?
Yeah.
Was it? Or Nintendo 64 was 64-bit?
Yeah, something like that. But basically, underlying all computer code is ones and zeros. So it's either on or off, on or off. So the most complex computer system that you can imagine, that does like amazing functions, like these machines, boil down to just a light being on or a light being off. So like the amount of complexity that you can get out of things being on or off. The same, this universe is completely complex, but it's just a mixture of manifestation and non-manifestation, which I think is like it's quite mind-blowing. But this is saying that there's a world beyond that nature,
beyond that, which isn't manifest, so it's eternal. It's beyond manifestation, non-manifestation, so it's eternal, always in existence.
Yeah, it's kind of inconceivable to my brain because we're like used to being in this world of on and off, hot and cold, heat, cold, happiness, distress. So this is beyond that,
It's beyond that. So therefore, so it's saying to accept, to understand something which is beyond our conception, then we are taking advantage of Vedic literature, Vedic information.
Yeah, because we can't experience beyond our perception. It's like we discussed it before. We're just so limited by this sort of encasing that we're witnessing the world through. So to be able to actually even understand something beyond that perception, we need to have the assistance of the Vedas. So that's what Vedic knowledge is. And we accept our knowledge from the highest authority, is Krishna.
So yeah, this is the first. This might be one of the first times in this book, anyway, or in this introduction, that Krishna has been mentioned.
Yeah, Krishna.
Krishna is accepted as the highest authority. We talked before as well, wasn't it, about the word authority?
Yeah.
Now people freak out when they hear authority.
Yeah.
Like So Krishna, and then is talking about different schools of transcendentalists, classes of transcendentalists. So this is a whole world that we're being introduced to of people who are living yogic practices, sort of thing. A different world to, economic development or getting some material fulfillment. But there's whole schools of thought of these people who dive deeply into yogic lifestyles, spiritual engineering.
So am I right in thinking that when you say yogic, it's things pertaining to the Vedas? So that particular that wealth of knowledge is yoga.
Yoga means to connect. It's like a lifestyle engineering that involves practices that re-establish one in a spiritual constitution, sort of thing. I mean, yoga means to link. It means to link, it's meant to link the individual consciousness of ourselves with the supreme source of all consciousness, supreme consciousness, which is also known as Krishna. Krishna means all attractive.
Yeah, I actually, because when we released the first episode of this podcast, like because we go out selling books, right, most of the time, isn't it? And I met a man on the street, and he was wearing a Joe Rogan podcast T-shirt, and he actually asked me, he after having listened to our first podcast, he wanted to know, who is Krishna? What is Krishna? Yeah,
well, it's explained here very nicely when Prabhupada says, we take it for granted, this phrase. He says, Krishna is accepted as the supreme personality of Godhead. So we take it for granted, that phrase, and it's very exotic when you first hear it. Supreme personality of Godhead. So it's the word Godhead. I think it comes from the word Gottheit, which is German.
Okay.
Which refers is German philosophers, German Christian philosophers refer to Godhead as all of reality. So not just God, as the conception is of a supreme, but God, but like all energies. Whether it's material, spiritual, consciousness, manifestation, non-manifestation.
Yeah.
So there's a word that, because Prabhupada says himself that just the word God is not enough, really, to...
It's not linked to the rest of it, right?
Yeah, and he says, in one sense, God can be quite vague, but Godhead refers to all energies of this world, spiritual and material. So therefore, and then personality of Godhead, so indicating that there's a consciousness behind all of these energies, just like, I can drive a car, but that's because there's, I'm a conscious being that can, move, and I can be...
You can harness the energy of the car.
Exactly,
you can point in the direction you need.
Yeah.
Because you're a person.
Yeah, so consciousness is the supreme sort of is a higher type of energy, a higher category of energy than matter.
Yeah.
So like I can move this mug along the table, I can move my arm up and down because my consciousness is of a higher quality energy than the material elements. So similarly, you have a personality of Godhead. So there's a conscious sort of conscious entity behind these energies, and supreme personality of Godhead, which means supreme conscious reservoir of all consciousness and all energies, and that's Krishna. So that's what it's quite.
So in that way, the word Krishna is a very powerful word, you know.
Yeah,
if you just
you can go into the word Krishna, and it can plunge you deep into all these esoteric topics and understanding, really. But ultimately, but again, it's so it's getting this sort of person behind everything, Krishna.
Krishna. Should we move on, Cooper?
Yes, carry on reading. Sankaracharya is supposed to be an impersonalist who preached impersonalism, personal Brahman, but it is a fact that he is a covered personalist. In his commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, he wrote, Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is beyond this cosmic manifestation. And then again he confirmed that Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, is Krishna. He has come as the son of Devaki and Vasudeva. You know, as we're talking about cosmic manifestation, because behind you is that far out poster of the universe and stuff, all the colours and that. So I like looking at it as we're doing these podcasts.
When I first came to the ashram, I saw this. It's like there's a poster of the entire universe. Yeah. it's really far out. That's a word that you learn, but far out. It's like
it's cool, isn't it?
It's trippy. I'm tripping out looking at it.
Okay, right. Sorry, I've lost it.
So we was talking about.
Do you want to carry on? If you can find it, where
Devaki
and Vasudeva. Yeah. He particularly. Do you want to read?
He particularly mentioned the names of his father and mother. So Krishna is accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead by all transcendentalists. There's no doubt about it. So that's a cool word as well, transcendentalists.
Yeah.
Like they're transcendental to these manifestation, non-manifestation, this like cosmic manifestation, whatever you want to call it. Like this school of thought is transcendental to this material universe, you know. So Krishna is accepted without a doubt by all transcendentalists.
Transcendentalists. It's interesting that word to transcend.
Yeah.
And I think it's connected to the words like traverse, or if you transcend something, you travel across. So it said a transcendentalist is someone who just goes across this material ocean, you know, to higher levels of understanding and stuff. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So
that's where we are again. Go on.
Where are we? Transcendentalists.
There's no doubt about it.
Our source of knowledge in Krishna consciousness is the Bhagavad Gita, which comes directly from Krishna. We've published the Bhagavad Gita as it is because we accept Krishna as he is speaking, without any interpretation. That is Vedic knowledge. Since the Vedic knowledge is pure, we accept it. Whatever Krishna says, we accept it. This is Krishna consciousness. It saves much time. If you accept the right authority or source of knowledge, then you save much time. For example, there are two systems of knowledge in the material world, inductive and deductive. From deductive, you accept that man is mortal. Your father says, man is mortal. Your sister says, man is mortal. Everyone says, man is mortal. But you do not experiment. You accept it as a fact that man is mortal. If you want to research it to find out whether man is mortal, you have to study each and every man, and you may come to think that there may be some man who is not dying, but you have not seen him yet. So in this way your research will never be finished. In Sanskrit, this process is called aroha, the ascending process. If you want to attain knowledge by any personal endeavour, by exercising your imperfect senses, you will never come to the right conclusions. That is not possible. It's pretty.
It's a philosophical principle, isn't it? You're setting up a. That's the thing. If you're trying to work it out by argument, then it's called a premise, isn't it? You set up a premise. All men are mortal. So therefore, the premise is the price you have to pay in order to disagree with that person.
Yeah.
So like, I don't think, okay, all men are mortal. So all men are mortal, therefore Charlie is mortal. So, okay, on the premise all men are mortal, then Charlie must be, I should accept that. If I choose not to accept that Charlie's mortal, then I have to deny the premise that all men are mortal, sort of thing. So if you set your premise, it sets the price by which you have to pay to defeat an argument in philosophy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you have to go around every single man and... Yeah,
you have to do it by your own experiment. So that's why it's a type of understanding, because some things you think, well, it's so likely, I might as well accept it as truth. So it is a type of understanding. You can cut that bit out if you want. I just thought it was just while I was reflecting.
No, it's good. I'm thinking about like I'm just wondering, how is this linked? So it's saying that there's two. If you accept the right authority, so it's saying that
Prabhupada's saying we accept Krishna.
Yeah.
So you have to accept some authority.
Okay.
You have to listen to someone. You know what I mean? If you take a book on nuclear physics and you accept it as truth, you're taking the authority of the author. You have to accept some authority. So Prabhupada's saying, well, we take the Bhagavad Gita as authority and Krishna as authority. So you have to accept someone, whether you accept your science teacher or you accept your maths teacher, but we accept Krishna as the authority. And why not?
Why not?
But as we said before, Krishna gives you the tools by which to verify if what you're saying is true or not. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm lost in my mind now. I'm a little loop in my mind. So there's I'll carry on. There's a statement in the Brahma Samhita: just ride on an aeroplane which runs at the speed of mind. Our material aeroplanes can run 2,000 miles per hour. But what is the speed of mind? You are sitting at home. You immediately think of India.
Charlie, think of India. Everyone listen to this podcast. Think of India. If you've never been to India, think of somewhere where you have been.
Like Paris.
Or Tesco's.
Tesco.
Somewhere.
Think of somewhere.
Think of the sights, the smells, noises. Charlie's deep in meditation there. Okay, Charlie? You got it? Okay.
I'm in India.
He's in India.
So you're sitting at home, you immediately think of India, that's, say, 10,000 miles away, and at once, India's in your home. Your mind has gone there. It's pretty cool, isn't it?
How quick is the mind?
Yeah. So the mind speed is so swift. Therefore, it is stated that if you travel at this speed for millions of years, you'll find that the spiritual sky is unlimited. It's not even possible to approach it. This is pretty cool. So, like, this is what Prabhupada's saying here. He says that our material aeroplane, so he's talking about, like, standard airplane, Qantas A380. That's just what came into my head. Or some kind of plane.
EasyJet.
EasyJet. An EasyJet kind of guy, is it?
Yeah, although I don't think an EasyJet goes
2,000 miles an hour.
2,000 miles an hour.
Anyway, so these planes... Nice. Yeah, the banger of the commercial plane. But they go at 2,000 miles, but our mind is like infinitely quicker than that, you know? And this reminds me actually about there's like... in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about the different elements, the different material elements.
Yeah.
You're familiar with the elements?
The elements, yeah. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, and then there's also this very subtle mind, intelligence, and false ego. Right?
Spot on. Yeah, that's exactly it. So like,
thank you.
So these so these different elements, they go from the grossest element. So gross is something that you can like grab. Like the most gross thing is like very tactile. So earth is the most heavy element of all. And then what was the next one? Water.
Yeah.
Fire. So water's a bit less solid than earth. It's got that liquidity quality.
Yeah.
Then fire is a bit less solid than water. It's, you know.
Yeah. Each element, as it gets more grows, it's described it takes on more and more qualities also.
Yeah.
Like, I think it said air doesn't have form, but fire has form. But fire has no
taste.
Taste, yeah.
Yeah.
But water has taste. But water has no smell. But earth has smell, and earth also has... So each subsequent element contains also all the characteristics of those before it.
Yeah.
So earth has form, smell, taste, and touch.
Yeah.
Because air has touch.
So they're more subtle. So the material, the gross material elements go up to ether, and then beyond that, there's the subtle material elements, which is talking about the mind.
Yeah,
yeah. Which is like
modern sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, you touch on the mind in like psychology a little bit, but
not
still.
literally though. You can't touch on the mind.
No,
because it's in that space that's beyond our being able to grab it with our senses, right?
Yeah, but it's still within this world. Like you have.
Yeah.
I mean, there was all these. America actually came out and admitted that they'd been involved in psychic testing.
Oh yeah.
And similarly in Russia also, all these like psychics and sort of telekinesis experts came out of Russia to America, especially in the communist days, or I think even when communism started to fall, then they'd all seek asylum in America. But you have some really far out stories.
Is that like astral projection? Like
astral projection, moving things with people with your mind.
So it's sort
is
of like,
even possible, and you get some ghosts who can do that as well, like poltergeists and all sorts of stuff. You know,
far out.
Yeah.
So like there's a whole like subtle realm within this universe, within the material world, that's beyond our ability to grab.
Yeah. But even then, there's evidence of it, but it's still material. It's still within the purview of the material universe. But it's very subtle.
Yeah.
Very subtle science.
It's interesting. But like this progression of subtle to gross, I was thinking, because it says here that a plane goes 2,000 miles an hour, it's because it's got that wind resistance, you know. But then when you get like a spaceship into outer space, there's no resistance in space, because space is predominantly ether. Because they say there's no breathing there's no air in space. It's like this void.
Because no one can hear you scream in space.
Exactly.
Isn't it?
Spot on. So like, so it doesn't require much energy to go quickly through space, and even the mind is even quicker, and it requires less energy to go to India in your mind. You can do it in an instant.
You're an expert on these spaceships, is it?
You are an expert on these spaceships, good pal.
I think I won't get into the gravity propulsion systems.
What?
That are in the flying saucers that are being kept at Area 51.
You seem like some kind of authority, good pal. I'm intrigued.
Nah, I just watch too many documentaries.
Yeah. So on the Bob Lazar.
That's right, yeah.
On the Bob Lazar.
Yeah, well, he was saying that they use this element, and the ships move by actually manipulating gravity. So he used the example, like if you imagine you have a mattress and a bowling ball, if you press your fist or your foot into the mattress, they'll create an impression so the bowling ball will roll forward.
Yeah.
So he was saying like there's some they're gravity propulsion systems, so it affects the gravity around the ship, so the ship moves forward, something like that. But
so it like kind of compresses the gravity field, and then the ship fills that gap.
That's what
I can imagine, like
he was explaining.
Bloop, 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 like some kind of like.
Yeah.
Do
like
you know
the
what I
Jetsons
mean?
Or something.
I don't know, some like awesome flying, and this is a flying saucer we're talking about.
Flying saucers, yeah.
Maybe that's why they're shaped like a saucer, so they can fill gravity most efficiently.
Yeah, he was saying they fly like that. They don't fly like.
It's like that, meaning flat, like a disc.
Yeah, with the like belly side forward sort of thing, what you'd imagine. But anyway, that's again, these things are so interesting and mystical to most people, but we take them for granted that the wisdom literature of India just says these things matter-of-factly about how there's other civilizations and other planets within the universe, but still, like you said, it's still all within the material. Yeah, it's material still energy
within the manifest and unmanifest, within that sort of purview of the material universe. It's not beyond it in that sort of eternal sky, which is what it's talking about here. Yeah. That eternal spiritual sky, which is unlimited. It's kind of still, just to hear that because you always hear these kinds of things and think, it can't be, but like these ancient texts from India are kind of hinting at it.
Yeah, and also, but then again, it's, like Prabhupada, you have to accept some authority. So, well, how do I know that these, flying saucers are true? Or how do I know that there's, people who can, move stuff with their mind and things? And the fact is, I don't. Yeah. You hear someone, and by faith, you either decide whether it's true or not, depending on your previous sort of experience, etc. So Prabhupada saying, we've got to accept someone, but he's suggesting you accept Krishna. And as he'll go on to say, now you also need a teacher, but these things need to be proven. So like you can't just blindly believe things. Doubts is actually a sign of intelligence. So if you just believe everything you saw on social media, then, but actually you should raise questions, inquire, and spiritual technology, what Krishna is giving, is actually giving you the tools by which to really know whether what's true and what's not. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I'm just repeating what I've heard from different things, whether it's true or not.
Yeah.
I don't know. Definitely
an interesting topic though. So it says, Prabhupada goes on to say, there's a Vedic injunction.
I'm just looking at Charlie, see if we give him a thumbs up, see if what I'm saying is understandable or not.
Yeah, it's definitely understandable.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Charlie's like my canary. So, in the mines you have a canary. If there's too much gas, the canary dies.
So Charlie dies, and we've said too much.
So Charlie's our canary to see if everything's okay. Okay.
Wicked. So, therefore, the Vedic injunction is that one must approach, and the word compulsory is used, a bona fide spiritual master, a guru. And what is the qualification of a spiritual master? He is one who has rightly heard the Vedic message from the right source, and he must practically be firmly established in Brahman. These are the two qualities he must have, otherwise he is not bona fide. It's kind of what you were talking about earlier, about needing a teacher. A teacher to be able to understand this stuff,
Yeah, you need someone to hold your hand, take you through it.
It's kind of like if you're going to become like a surgeon, and then you just like go to a bookshop and buy a book on surgery, read through it, and then ask Charlie, do you want an operation? Like, do you want me to, I don't know, give you an operation?
Heart transplant.
Heart transplant? It's not going to work.
No, where do you learn that from? Well, I read it in a book,
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, you got to go through you got to get taught in the right way by the right authority on surgery who's learnt from a teacher that also knows the right way. So this is it's actually not different from that in a sense,
Yeah.
But it's just understanding that the teacher must be qualified. And here Prabhupada talks, there's two qualifications of the spiritual master. So he has to have rightly heard the message from the right source. So in other words, his source must be correct. So his teacher must be spot on, and he has to have heard it properly. And then he has to be established in Brahman, which is, I'm not sure what Brahman is.
Brahman, spirit.
Brahman, spirit. So
he's got to be situated in real spiritual realization. And he should be, Prabhupada uses the word bona fide, which is originally from Latin, which says with good faith. And something Prabhupada says a lot is that you should find a bona fide guru, because there's many people who say that they're guru, or many people who proclaim that they can teach you how to be self-realized, but we should understand actually what's that mean. You know what I mean? What does it mean to be a real spiritual teacher? Is there such a thing? And if there is, how do they walk? How do they talk? How do you know?
Yeah.
So this is why this wisdom literature is trying to teach us how to understand.
Find the correct kind of teacher. Because there's like loads of stuff online, especially when I was getting into like the spiritual thing. My mind was starting to open up to these kinds of ideas, and I just would type spiritual online, and you see all these like people with big beard and a nice turban, or talking with a smooth, silky chocolate voice about spirituality, and you can very much be attracted by these people. But what qualifies them to be the right kind of teacher? Like I was always a bit like, I don't know about this, I don't know about that. Very, very skeptical, but I think it's healthy to be skeptical in this, because it's kind of a serious business. Like
you got to know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Like if you go to if you want to go buy a gold ring, you have to know what gold is.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to be cheated.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to go buy a car, you have to know. Okay, you got to check the mileage. You know, got to have an MOT done. You got to know a little bit about the
Yeah.
science, as it were, to understand if you're getting the genuine article or not.
Yeah.
So,
Or you just get scammed. And
yeah, people are lazy these days. You know, you just type in Google something, and you just whatever it vomits up, you take to be truth.
yeah.
You know.
Google.
Yeah, Google guru.
Google.
But this Sanskrit literature is the real. It's this is where the word yoga comes from. You know,
Yeah.
it's like this is the authoritative information. That's and when the books we're reading are the books by Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. He's got quite a grand title, and he is accepted as by both not only the Sanskrit academia. Not only the most accepted by like in the universities, etc., but also by the connoisseurs of yoga and spiritual practitioners.
Yeah, you got like other spiritual paths using reading his books.
He is these are the most authoritative translation works of this Sanskrit literature that's in the world at the minute, you know, because it's more than just word for word translation, but you have to be in it touched on the word earlier, a Sanskrit word called parampara, which means you it comes in a chain. The knowledge comes from teacher to disciple, teacher to disciple.
Yeah.
And Prabhupada comes in such a chain. He presents these books for education about what is real spiritual science.
Spot on.
Canary, Charlie?
Sounds good.
Is okay.
Spot on.
Anyway, Charlie's the sweetest human being in the world. But Hugh, I think you can edit that bit out.
Yeah, definitely edit that bit.
Okay, so we'll finish now. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's a good place to finish on.
Join us next time.
Yeah, I mean, we're discussing these books, and you can come back. This was episode 3. We'll go through the Upanishad and continue going through these spiritual literatures in order to try and uplift the sound vibration that's going out there in the world.
Yeah, like little drops of water. Each podcast will get a little bit further into it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's really nice. And if you listen to it, definitely, if you got to here, this is the end of the podcast, you know, drop us a message and like tell us how you found it, or
Oh yeah, if you've gotten to this point, you've done really well.
congrats.
Yeah.
You get a pat on the back. But no, if you made it through the Gopal's aliens and
That's not even. We'll talk more about that next time.
yeah. But no, it was a pleasure, Gopal. Thank you.
Thanks,
very much.
Ben, and
Thanks, Charlie.
thanks, Charlie.
Most importantly, thank you, Charlie.
Yeah. Let's get a few guests on here in the future.
Yeah.
Now we got, these types of spiritual masters that is being talked about. I think we will get some on our show.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
legit.
And then, and if anyone has any questions that they want to ask them, then let us know. All
Yeah.
right.
Thank you
Okay.
so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna. Done.
Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Bhaja Shri